I'm just kind of ready for the next chapter and a new challenge in my life, but I think the reason I decided to announce it when I did was just to have that closure.
The world of CaitlinClark abruptly shifted. And it all began when Lexie Hull and Michael Jordan entered the room in a moment filled with astonishment and emotion. The rising talent and basketball great disclosed an incredible $52 million Nike agreement that was exclusively for Clark. Her gaze expanded. The audience fell silent. Fans will never forget the response that followed. However, why did Hull and Jordan take this action at this time? What are the implications of this historic agreement for Caitlin, Nike, and women's sports going forward? A phenomenon's ascent. CaitlinClark had already repeatedly altered history long before the 2024 WNBA draft ever took place. She was more than just a superb athlete. The player was her. The beating heart of college basketball for women. Caitlin made routine games into major events starting in her debut season with the Iowa Hawkeyes. Something electrifying happened each time she on the court. Remained 3 steps away from the arc. Even the most experienced analysts stopped and stared as the laser moved through narrow channels with such assurance. By the beginning of 2024, something noteworthy had occurred. In addition to being well-known in every American home, CaitlinClark's fame has started to spread over other countries. Hours before tip-off, crowds waited in line to see her warming up. Every time her jersey was seen on TV, the ratings skyrocketed. In reality, in terms of attendance and ticket sales, a number of Caitlin's collegiate games surpassed NBA games during the 2023 to 2024 season. She created a movement rather than merely attracting fans. She has incredible stats. CaitlinClark broke the NCAA's all-time scoring record in March 2024 inside the thunderous walls of Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City, outscoring all previous male and female players. The Globe didn't simply pay attention.
It was still for a while.
ESPN provided exclusive coverage. Instant features were introduced by international networks. Her image appeared on digital billboards in Tokyo and cereal boxes in the Midwest. College basketball was no longer the only aspect of this. CaitlinClark had achieved international fame. Thus, it wasn't a matter of whether she would be selected first on the evening of the WNBA draft on April 15, 2024. It was the speed at which the Indiana Fever would leap to the call. And when they did, it felt more like a coronation than a draft in front of a boisterous audience in Brooklyn, New York. Legends nodded their agreement as the crowd surged and cameras flashed. What transpired next, though? The plot really takes a turn at that point, because 2 legendary names came forward in a moment that astounded both fans and insiders. The basketball kingmaker himself, Michael Jordan, and Lexie Hull, a rising WNBA star. Together, they unveiled an unexpected alliance that nobody had anticipated. Nike was making CaitlinClark an incredible $52 million offer for a whole business centered around her life, her fashion sense, and her relentless ascent, not just shoes or branding. The sports world was rocked by what had started as a whisper regarding her future. And CaitlinClark's face, captured on camera, told it all at that precise moment. Surprise, thankfulness, and victory. But there's more going on here than just that eye-catching offer. A tale of legacy, timing, and how Lexie Hull and Michael Jordan supported a revolution rather than just a player. What occurs, though, if Michael Jordan and Lexie Hull spark a revolution rather than merely a transaction? To discover out, stay in touch. The bidding battle that rocked women's athletics. CaitlinClark was more than just a basketball sensation by the time she arrived in Brooklyn for the 2024 WNBA draft. She was a phenomenon in marketing. Corporate behemoths with billion-dollar eyes were already watching every shot she made, every post-game interview she gave, and every stride she took while wearing sneakers. Her ascent had not only thrilled admirers. The entire power of the worldwide endorsement machine had been roused. The fight to sign CaitlinClark was intense, global, and took place in boardrooms all around the world. Rumors of significant endorsement offers started to circulate behind the scenes in early March 2024. Adidas, Puma, Nike, and Under Armour all entered the market to lock down the most powerful lady in basketball, not merely to sign a player. Every brand was aware of the stakes. CaitlinClark was more than just a symbol of outstanding athleticism. She stood for a new age of market dominance, fandom, and exposure in women's sports. Under Armour entered quickly and forcefully. According to reports that were leaked from its headquarters in Baltimore, the offer was alluring. $16 million spread over 4 years, along with the possibility of a trademark shoe, uncommon for female athletes of any caliber. That was sufficient to garner media attention. Adidas then made a silent but well-thought-out bid. $6 million spread throughout 4 years. And another item that caught people's attention, a sneaker prototype that was previously created with Caitlin's style in mind. Puma also dabbled on the concept. However, they withdrew from the race when the stakes and numbers swelled. Things had changed from normal. It was war. Then, while everyone held their breath, Nike made a move. It wasn't merely an agreement. A thunderclap struck. 3 days after Caitlin was selected first overall by the Indiana Fever in April 2024, Nike made a game-altering offer that smashed all other offers, including an 8-year contract with a reported base salary of $28 million. However, it didn't end there. Performance bonuses, brand royalties, and worldwide activations would raise the agreement's value to an astounding $52 million, according to insiders familiar with the transaction. Nike didn't stop there, either. To cement the deal, they summoned 2 strong armies. The legendary Michael Jordan, whose jumpsuit brand revolutionized the basketball industry, and Lexie Hull, a rising WNBA star and shrewd supporter of equity in the game. Together, they gave Clark a legacy rather than just a deal. CaitlinClark entered what she believed to be a casual Nike brand meeting at a private event in Los Angeles. Rather, Jordan himself greeted her, holding a sleek black box bearing her initials and Lexie Hull at his side. Her first signature prototype is within. The instant she realized what was occurring was captured on camera. Her hand shot to her face as her eyes widened and her incredulity turned to tears. And the torch was formally passed at that precise moment. What, then, caused CaitlinClark to sob in shock as legends handed her the torch.
Keep an eye out.
This is something you won't want to miss. The autograph that made all the difference. Sleek, striking, and bearing her name, CaitlinClark's first signature shoe was unboxed. For her, it was more than just a milestone. Decades of sports history were reverberated by that moment. There hasn't been a partnership this significant in the globe since 1984, when a young Michael Jordan inked a historic contract with Nike. However, performance wasn't the only factor this time. It was about promise, strength, and women's sports future. Days after her Brooklyn WNBA draft moment, the announcement was made. Not only was Nike's offer of $52 million unprecedented, it contained an even more uncommon item, a distinctive shoe collection based only on CaitlinClark's persona and sense of style. She became just the 3rd WNBA player in history to be granted this distinction. What's even more amazing is that she was the first to get it at this early stage of her career. A daring wager is at the heart of it all. Nike was not merely acquiring a player. They were making an investment in a cause. One that started with crowded college stadiums and broken scoring records before developing into a complete commercial conglomerate. With a few significant exceptions, it was a contemporary take on the Jordan blueprint. Nike offered more than just a salary when they gambled on Michael Jordan, a dynamic rookie, back in 1984. Royalties, or a portion of each pair of Air Jordans sold, were part of Jordan's contract. Everything changed because of that detail. It enabled him to develop as a brand in addition to an athlete. MJ makes tens of millions of dollars a year from Air Jordan, which is now a multi-billion-dollar company. Not only did that initial contract change Nike, but it also permanently altered sports marketing. In contrast, CaitlinClark's arrangement is far larger in scope, but differs in form. Although she receives her own shoe, the contract does not, at least not yet, involve royalties on sales, according to people familiar with the negotiations. This indicates that even though Clark's name, image, and likeness support the brand, Nike still controls the earnings. Some people didn't like that particular detail. Caitlin's fast rise was publicly lauded by Son and Vaccaro, the same former Nike executive who assisted in signing Michael Jordan in the 1980s, who referred to her as one of the most significant athletes of this generation.